And we're live. Everybody, this is Leslie Rohde with the Marketers Brain Trust, and I am joined today by the ever black and white Dan Thies, and then the very colorful Corey Burke. The even more colorful Michelle Chan Stangfong could not be with us today. She says she's, for some reason, not camera ready. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know. I guess she didn't have another Hawaiian blouse. Yeah, you have to see last week's episode. Okay, so what we're going to do today is Corey has a prepared presentation, which I think it's what do we call that? We came up with like a four-letter acronym for it. Facebook.
Oh, back in the day,
system?
yeah, it was like a Facebook Recon system, something like that.
Methodology. Something.
Trademark. TM.
Yeah.
It spells Fursbud.
Fursbud.
So.
And Fursbud is actually one of the components of the systems and processes that we use to run content marketing for our clients. And Corey is really the progenitor of it. He's the one that brought it and teaches it within our group of family and friends, if you will, our coaching students. And he's also the one that runs it for our 40-something clients. So without further ado, I'm going to try to get Corey broadcasting, screen shared, all that stuff. And if you have any questions, obviously, please put them in the chat, and we'll get to them during or following the presentation.
If I have questions, I get to just interrupt, right?
I'm sorry, were you speaking? Yes. So let's present Corey to everyone. We presented Corey. Yes, let me present Corey. Over to you.
All right, and we'll screen share.
Try that.
And
very important.
How are we doing?
Oh, it looks awesome. Except for that picture in the middle.
Fantastic.
Okay. Can't do anything about that.
I shouldn't have asked. All right. So we're going to cover today the Facebook audience recon, mainly because I haven't presented anything and I was feeling left out. So there are two pieces of what we're going to cover today, and it's going to be how to find sources for content, and the second piece is going to be how to get a better sense of who your ideal client is. And when I first taught the FBRS, it was to just find content sources for doing abstracting and commentary and creating content. But after doing 40+ avatar calls, and everybody saying, I don't know who my ideal client is, a lot of what we're going to touch on today is going to help you get a better understanding of who your ideal client could be. And we actually start with trying to find sources for content. So the sites that we're going to use today are Quantcast, Alexa, Facebook. Facebook's the big one. So make sure you hang around long enough for that. And I used to use Compete, but when I was putting together the presentation, Compete has changed and it's not as useful as it used to be. Make note that you should check into Compete once in a while, just in case they change up what they give away in their free access. It used to be that Alexa didn't show much, and then in the last couple of years, they've started sharing much more information, kind of becoming relevant again. Not necessarily Alexa rank, but just what they show based on websites. So the first one we're going to jump into is Quantcast. And the reason why I like to use Quantcast is because their demographic information is really good. If they show it for the site that you're researching, it'll look something like this. And you're able to find out gender, age range, family status or household status, their income, their education level, ethnicity, and even their political affiliation. So it can be really good. If you go to the site, you'll notice there above all the images, there's a horizontal navigation where it says gender, age, household income. We're going to dive into those one at a time. And the first one we're going to look at is going to be gender. So here you have gender for one of the websites that we're looking at. In this case, I should probably tell you we're looking at cooking.com. So we're assuming that you're an e-com site that's selling cookware, and I'm doing research on cooking.com specifically. And on the left-hand side, they're showing kind of the index, male versus female compared to the average. And cooking.com compared to the average site has more females than it does males. On the right-hand side, they show the actual breakdown. And I think this is really, really valuable to know that almost 70% of cooking.com's traffic is female. And it makes sense. It should also be said this is in the US that we're looking at. So if you were going to take this information to an ideal client avatar process, you would probably want them to be female, at least so far, based on what Quantcast is showing us. The next thing we're going to look at is their age. And here you'll see on the left-hand side, they're again showing the index. You'll see that at the bottom it looks like 55 to 64 and 65 plus makes up more of their traffic, but that's not accurate. What it's showing is that this site has more people than the average website in the US does. On the right-hand side, the composition breakdown, that's where you really want to get your percentages. So if you were to pick an avatar age range or specific age, you would want them to be somewhere in between 45 and 64 because that's the largest subset of those two groups. And the largest individual percentage is actually in the 45 to 54 range.
Hey,
Now,
Corey?
Yeah.
And so in there, you could also go to just the male tab or just the female tab. So if you're focused on a male avatar or a female avatar, you don't have to look at the combined age numbers. You can actually drill down all the way into by gender, right?
Correct. Yes. That is correct. This is combined. So thank you for calling that out. So you'll remember, if you've done an avatar process with us, which I believe is sometime in the near future, we're going to walk through one in case this terminology is new to you. One of the things that we do require is you pick a specific age, not an age range. As you can imagine, somebody that's 45 is going to have a different lifestyle than somebody that's 64. So you wouldn't want to use the age range from 45 to 64 because they'll have slight but important differences between being retired, maybe owning a second home, maybe having kids that are still in the house even though they're supposed to be in college, etc. Speaking of kids, the next one we'll look at is household. And if you take the information we just saw, which was a much older age range, and you look at this, it's in the household they don't have kids living. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't have kids at all. It just means that the household makeup is actually predominantly no kids.
Or that the kids they have in their house are dead.
Wow, that was slightly macabre.
Anyway, moving on.
Maybe they're of the four-legged variety, a dog or cat.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So this information can be valuable because if they don't have kids living in the household, they probably have more disposable income unless they're paying for their college. So it's important information to take into consideration when developing your avatar, to think about maybe they're going to be entertaining. If they don't have kids living with them, the kids are probably going to come and bring grandkids, and so they're going to cook and entertain. And so information on entertaining and decorating is going to be valuable to them. The income level tab is the next one that we're looking at here. And this is pretty interesting because if you look at what I've squared off in red, 0 to 50,000 makes up the largest group individually. But 50,000 plus is more than that. So if you were to target in your Facebook targeting with ads, you can actually set their income level to 50,000, 100,000, 250,000, etc. So even though the largest group in and of itself is below 50,000, that doesn't mean they're actually necessarily going to be an ideal client. You still might want to target the more high-end people because you can sell them higher-end goods like KitchenAid and Cuisinart and stuff like that. So I thought that was really interesting in this case. Some people would look at it and say, oh, well, most of their traffic, that big 41% of their traffic is making less than 51%. But that just means 59% is making more than 50 grand. And that's very valuable to realize because those people are going to have more disposable income and they're going to be able to buy more often and higher price goods if you market to them, those that are in the 50,000 and up range. The education tab is very interesting. There's a large subset that has college, some sort of college education. So that means they're either graduated from college or they have some college. It's kind of lumped into one. 35% has no college education according to Quantcast that's visiting the site. So maybe writing simple articles that are fun is a good idea. But when it comes to targeting, you can target college graduates as well. So that's future layering you can do inside Facebook. So it's something to think about. And almost 20%, almost 1/5 of their traffic has some sort of graduate degree, meaning a master's or PhD. So that's pretty interesting that 1 in 5 visitors has further college education. That's a very special subset of person. So these are people that are I mean, they're not just eating fast food, they're educated, they have money. The older subset of people don't have kids living in the home with them. No comment on Leslie's comment. So we can glean a lot of information from this just by looking at Quantcast. And Quantcast had information. They're not going to have information on every website that you look up. So because of that, we also want to look towards another resource, and in this case, Alexa. Alexa also has really good avatar information. And they go a little bit further than Quantcast does, for free at least, that they have some really good content recon information. So with the number one, the avatar info, here, they still have the male and female breakdown. They have the no college, some college, graduate school, and college. And then they also have their browsing location. And the nice thing with Alexa, is if you hover over the information, they'll show you their confidence level. And here their confidence level is only medium. So you want to take this with a grain of salt. You don't want to necessarily build everything out based on this Alexa info, but it's nice to get either backup data based on Quantcast, which they're saying more women than men. They're saying some college is pretty heavy, as well as no college. Still that small sliver of graduate school. And supposedly people are browsing from work and school more. The fact that the confidence level is medium on this, I don't know that I would necessarily buy into that. I do buy into the work browsing, but I'm not so sure about this school being off the charts like that. I would disregard that. The other information that they give that Quantcast doesn't, that comes in handy, are things like geography. 86%, according to Alexa, are browsing in the United States. So you would definitely want your avatar in this case to be set in the United States if Cooking.com was a similar website based to yours and you're selling in the U.S. It was interesting to see that India was so high compared to Canada and Australia. I don't know why that is, but I found it interesting. The keyword traffic, they do show a little bit of keyword traffic. Obviously, for a website like Cooking.com, cooking is going to be their #1 keyword. But what I found most interesting was number 4. How to saute onions, according to Alexa, got more search traffic than their brand name, Cooking.com. So that might be a video or an article or a series that you want to do, would be sauteing onions. Or featuring recipes that use sauteed onions and linking back into content for how to saute onions. So you can get some interesting ideas from websites like this, looking at the keyword traffic on content ideas. Obviously, cooking recipes is huge, so you'd want to focus on generating recipes. Cook and cooking and cooking.com those are just to be expected. So really high level, short tail keywords that probably won't do much. But recipes and how to saute onions, those are valuable in this case. The upstream sites is also very interesting. People are obviously doing Google searches. They're coming in through Amazon because they're selling product, or they have listing ads on Amazon where they're trying to piggyback on people searching for cookware and not finding what they want. Obviously, Yahoo traffic and Facebook traffic, but this jumped out at me, which was the first time I've ever seen this, doing one of these where they have email-cooking, and I went to that, and it just redirects to their homepage. So it tells me they're probably doing a good amount of email marketing. And that would be a strategy that you would want to use. You would want to build up to compete with these guys, build up your own email list and make sure that you're actually reaching out to your audience with valuable information, whether it's your articles, like a weekly dump of the articles that you did where you recap everything you covered, or if it's specials, that type of thing. It was amazing to see just how much of their traffic they're bringing back into the site from email. The sites linking into them, obviously Amazon, and I thought the Reddit and Wikipedia ones were rather interesting, mainly because Reddit is so difficult to get on. But if you do get on there, you can get a lot of traffic from it. And so if you see stuff like this, that'll give you ideas for content that you yourself can put out to try to emulate. Obviously, they got linked to on Wikipedia from the article Steak Tartare, so you could jump into that article and see what else they're linking to from that Wikipedia article. And you might also think about creating content around that topic as well. So not only does it give you, don't try to spam Wikipedia, obviously, and don't try to spam Reddit because you're just going to get kicked off and blocked. But if you can put content out in front of people that are fans of Reddit that are also into cooking, you run a much greater chance of getting on Reddit, somebody featuring your article or sharing it on there if it's unique and original. The related sites is also very valuable because you can add this to your list of other sites that you want to look at besides cooking.com. You can look at Chef's Catalog, Casa21.com, ChefRevival.com. These are all external sites that are similar to theirs. And then they also have a nice section here that other sites that cooking.com owns, which are chef.com and kitchenetcetera.com. You may want to dig into these both on Quantcast, Alexa, and as we go through Facebook. You can run all of these sites through what we're currently doing. And so this can help with your recon in terms of finding other similar websites. The last site we're going to jump into, and I think this is probably the most important one, is Facebook. And there are a number of different ways we can use Facebook. We're going to cover pages that a popular page likes. We're going to go over more pages that you may like, because Facebook actually will show you, based on a page that you like, what pages are related to that. It's really cool. And we're going to dive into, at the end, Facebook's audience insights. We're not going to get to cover everything. That's actually probably a presentation in and of itself, but we're going to cover a lot, so make sure you stick around for the Facebook audience insights stuff here in just a few minutes. The first thing we're going to look at is I went to cooking.com and I scrolled down on the left-hand side, and you'll see squared off in red there, liked by this page. And these are pages that the social media manager of this fan page has gone out and liked. And this can be a really good way to find other Facebook pages and then websites that are in the same topic and that are also popular because a popular page is liking it. So you're going to click on the liked by this page, and you're going to, if you tab it open into a new page, you'll see a bunch of them all at once. I've sectioned it off into 3 different sections here. So the first section, we've got six websites here, and I've highlighted 2 of them. The one in yellow, Savour magazine, is directly related to cooking. And so that would be a really good one to make note of. Now, they also liked Jewel Scent, which sells these candles that have jewelry in them. This Daily Secret is kind of a news blog. Afar was a magazine that was not cooking related. So I didn't really pay any attention to those. I mean, I tabbed them open and looked at them, but they weren't really that cooking related. Savour magazine was. And this Mouth, I highlighted this in green because this is actually a specialty store, an online store where you can find all sorts of kind of local specialty artisanal products. So those people with more disposable income that are into cooking, that are into, you know, charcuterie plates and brie and wines and stuff like that, this might be a really good source to get in front of them and find content for those types of people. And I had never seen this site. This magazine I knew about, but this site I had never seen before. So that was a plus. The next kind of section down, we had 4 sites in a row that were all really good for cooking and kitchen related. So there was Heartbeat Kitchen, where it was a cooking blog. Taste of Home is a popular magazine. Cooking Light magazine is very popular, and America's Test Kitchen. All of those are very popular cooking and kitchen related magazines and sites. So these you're going to want to add to your list and then run them through the same Quantcast, Alexa, Facebook process. So this is a big rabbit hole that we can dive into, and I'm going to stay away from that as best as possible. And there was one more section of sites, and that was just above the fold. I could have loaded more, but I didn't want to inundate you. So this is the third section. Here's 5 more sites. The ones in yellow, again, are very cooking related, and you're going to want to make sure you follow those. The one in green I thought was interesting because this is an actual product that somebody that spends time in their kitchen, they're cooking, that sort of a thing, is probably going to be interested in. It's a butter bell, and you put your butter in it, you flip it upside down, and you store it in a small amount of water. And it keeps the butter fresh without having to keep it in the fridge. You can actually leave it out on your counter so that your butter's nice and soft. So this is an interesting product. And people that are interested in something like this might also be interested in high-end knives and high-end kitchen goods. So that was pretty cool. And I wouldn't have thought to even search for a product like this except for the fact that Cooking.com had liked their page. So you would want to go ahead and add this to your list as well. The next thing that we're going to look at here are more pages that you may like. So when you come into Facebook and you like a page, what happens is a little drop down opens up here, and there will be a whole list of websites. And if you hover over to the right of where it says recipe.com, an arrow will pop up and you can scroll through about 3 different sections on this. And all of these are going to be kind of cooking, kitchen, recipe related. And you can add these to your list or like these pages as well. So like I said, this turns into a rabbit hole where you can deep dive down into all of these. But this is another good way to find additional sites and resources for content to build relationships with online. So if you weren't aware of that, I just wanted to point that out. And you can obviously also click See More Suggestions in Facebook. Based on the page that you just like, Facebook will show you more pages that are slightly interesting, related to that you might be interested in. If you didn't know this existed and you've already liked a page that's popular, say I already liked Cooking.com, you can come back to Cooking.com, unlike it, and then re-like it, and this drop-down will pop up. So if you've already liked the page and you ignored that, and you're like, oh crap, how do I get to that? You can just unlike it and re-like it, and this will load. And the holy grail of Facebook Recon, we're going to dive into that now. So I'm glad you hung in there with me for this. I think it's probably the most important piece, and you can get lost in this for days, and it's Facebook Insights. You can get to it by either Googling Facebook Audience Insights, or you can go to facebook.com/ads/audience_insights. But I believe you need to have an ad manager account in order to get there. So if you don't have one of those, you'd want to set it up. This is what it's going to look like when you come into Audience Insights. What you're going to do is you're going to grab an interest. On the left-hand side there, I'm going to blow it up here for you. You'll see you can enter based on interests. So I could enter cooking, I could enter kitchen, I could enter chef. In this case, I typed in cooking. I tried .com, but that didn't show up because of the dot. But when I was typing it out, it auto-filled with com. And so that's that actual page, cooking.com, people are interested in. And so that's the interest that I chose for this. As Dan said before, with I think it was Quantcast, you can segment men and women. So if you wanted to only look at women, you could click on that. You could, whoops, sorry about that. Let's see, there we go. You could only look at women and it would show you information. But in this case, since we're still trying to figure out more information about our avatar, I left it as both. You can also adjust the age range, and you can adjust their location, but in this case we're going to keep it in the United States. So the first thing we're going to look at is going to be demographics. And here you'll see 86% of the audience that likes the Facebook page, cooking.com, are women. And 53% of that audience makes up the 45 to 64 age range. So more than half of the women are in that subset. So if you were to create an audience subset, that older audience is going to be better potentially than maybe the 30 somebody that's 35 or younger. Not as many people in that age range. So having an avatar that's women is going to be beneficial, and having an avatar that is older is going to be beneficial, just based on this information here.
Hey, Corey.
Just to answer, yes.
Do we feel like the fans of the page skewing even more than kind of the general demographic data from Quantcast? Do we feel like that gives us a greater chance of engagement if we target, if that's where we put our avatar? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious in this case anyway. But
yeah, definitely. So running ads to boost your articles to these people, getting them in front of it, they're much more likely to interact with that content. The dark blue squares are showing fans of this page versus average users. So this shows that there's a much greater percentage of these older people that like a page like this than they do any other kind of average page on Facebook as well. So they definitely have a strong interest in cooking related and cookware related.
Those 18 to 24s just want to know what's for dinner, I guess.
Yeah. Right. Or they're trying to impress their boyfriend or their girlfriend.
Take them out to Mickey D's. It's classy. All right.
The next thing we're going to look at is household income. And again, we see that kind of 50,000 to 70,000, 75,000 is a big chunk of income. But what I thought was very interesting is if we were to add everything up and target people that made 100,000 or more, that's almost a third of the audience that likes this page. And this isn't based on what they set in Facebook where they can lie about it. This is based on survey responses and actual demographic data that they pull in from third parties. It's not like how somebody can go to Facebook and say, hey, I'm married, even though they're not, and they're married to their best friend. Or they set their birth date so their age is skewed. This is actual demographic data. So almost a third of the audience is making 100,000 or more. And I think that's really good to see. The other aspect was the home ownership. Almost 3/4 of the people that like this page are homeowners. And that's all stuff that you can target in Facebook. You could actually only target homeowners instead of renters, and you'd hit a percentage of people that are greater than the other. That was totally redundant, but you can filter based on that, so you're not basically wasting any budget on renters. And if you wanted to create a separate avatar where you hit renters, you can. But this might be a really nice layer to add in there, as well as their income, their household income. So looking at household size is also important. And so here we see that the big chunk is 2 people in the household, so it could be a married couple, again, with no kids, or maybe they have, I thought this 3 people in the household was interesting, so maybe they have a kid, so it's a smaller family. What I thought was very interesting was most of the time when I do the avatar, people are saying, okay,
Is it me or did we lose Corey's sound?
I was just wondering if it was just me. I think we lost Corey's sound.
Yeah, we do not have audio from Corey. Let's see here. Let's see if he's actually looking at our back channel. Raw sound. New.
There he is. Wait.
There's no longer presenting. Whoops, no, he dropped off.
Good.
Let's see if Corey can get back in here. We could actually go get ahead a couple of these questions while hopefully while Corey's reconnecting. The magic of the web, right? You gotta love it when it's on, but not so much when it's not. Let's see here. Let's see if is that Corey. Let's see. I hear a dog. That's probably not Corey.
No, it's just my stupid dog.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to, kill him, so he's gonna bark every now and then.
Yeah, great. I'll have to edit that out of the recording too. Let's see. Don had asked a question. I don't think we can answer this with a great specificity, but we can at least give some hints here, I think, probably. Don asked, what would be the best way to use Facebook ads to get more visitors to this site that helps people with disabilities? Currently, the only monetization is Google AdSense. It seems like a better monetization strategy would be the first thing rather than more traffic, frankly. And it's not clear to me looking at the site, what they do to actually help people with disabilities. So that probably is an issue as well. I mean, it's disability grants and that sort of thing. So I don't really know of, it's if you're looking at things like who is interested in making grants, or who's interested in making donations or stuff like that. It's not impossible to use, audience insights for that to see, who's interested in various nonprofits, Red Cross, etc. And that may be of use. The other thing is, I wonder if you can get some either Alexa or Quantcast data for some of the crowdsourcing platforms that are focused on, not business like Kickstarter, but there are some of them that are focused on just helping people in need. And you may find that there's something to be derived, something there in the way of targeting that you can get just the way, Corey was describing. And from that demographic and psychographic information, then target them on Facebook. I wouldn't think about ads per se in the sense that we use it to mean right rail ads. I would think more in terms of content that has been boosted to the right audience on Facebook. Stories about hope and the things you can do good by making a donation to various causes, and that will resonate with the right people as long as you can get in front of them. Dan, did you have anything to offer down there or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, I mean, you've got a content marketing play there. It's really a matter of finding the audience to boost your content to. If you've got similar, you know, websites or you know, maybe larger organizations where an affinity for that is a good indication that they'd be interested in what you've got. That's where you'd start with targeting, but it's really about finding the content that they want and using that to bring people in. And then you know, potentially as you build that audience, you know, doing a little bit of remarketing advertising can make sense, but the first thing is, you know, find the audience and then use what we call qualifying content. So content that would be of interest to people that would, you know, be interested in the rest of what you have, and people that click that, then that becomes a remarketing audience. But you're not going to be able to find just, you know, you can't just dial up directly on Facebook people that want what I have. You have to go through 2 steps there.
Right, indeed. Jesus asked a really good question, which is how does Quantcast come up with these demographic stats? And it's kind of like, what is it, Nielsen ratings on television? You know, so they have people who have opted in, you know, or filled out surveys or otherwise known. And the Alexa toolbar works the same way.
And then also with Quantcast, some sites actually get quantized and stick stuff on their site to give Quantcast more data about them, presumably because they think that there's some value in having that when they're selling advertising and stuff like that. But most of it is based on what is, you know, compared to the size of the internet, a fairly small user panel, but it's enough to give you a hint in what directions things go. And it's not the same thing as Alexa, where you know, Alexa has that toolbar that they used forever, that, you know, the only people installing that were, you know, people like Leslie trying to see if their Alexa ranking was.
Oh yeah, I was.
I don't have analytics to tell me how much traffic I'm getting. I have to measure by my Alexa ranking. But yeah, people wasting their time is a large part of the Alexa data set in the past, but not so much anymore because they also now have a user panel and stuff like that, and so it's not quite the same approach that Alexa takes either. And you know, Alexa also does still have a spider out there calling the web for the archive project. So.
Yep. Dan, and not Dan Thies, Dan somebody else presumably, because he knows the answer to this question. Do we handle Facebook advertising for clients? And for that, it would depend rather tremendously on what your needs are and what your volume of advertising need is. And probably, Dan, are you the right person to field that via email?
Absolutely, yeah. Just Dan@marketersbraintrust.com. I mean, you know, it's something that we do handle for our clients within our content marketing service, you know, 100% of the time. But for other cases outside of that, it's you know, outside of the SEO and content world, we really have to look at, you know, does what you're doing fit what we can do, and you know, do you really have a realistic budget to be able to attack it? Indeed.
Let's see. Jan asked, is the Alexa data Corey is showing from free version or paid? And that gets to what comments you just made about Alexa, Dan. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm pretty sure. I haven't actually seen an invoice for paid.
Yeah,
so
we're not paying Alexa.
Yeah. Sean asks, can I like these pages and use these Facebook features with my business page and keep my personal Facebook page separate? I believe the answer is yes.
Yes, yeah. In fact, as a Facebook business page or just a Facebook page can like another page, you can comment on another page. If you like a little not safe for work fun, there's a Facebook page called Customer Service that goes and answers people's complaints on other Facebook pages, and stirs up all kinds of mess. I don't know how they haven't been banned, but maybe they just haven't been banned because it's so freaking hilarious. But yes, you can, and you can do a lot more as a page now than you used to be able to do. You can like other pages, and you can actually go comment on other pages.
Because, you know, bear in mind that the cooking.com page was not a personal one, that's a business page, and it liked other pages. Steve asked, really good question, how does one use multiple avatars? And so, well, there's a couple different ways. One is, if you really do have multiple, and we oftentimes, you know, find customers have multiple avatars, but it should be a small number of avatars, and then you should prioritize them, and prioritize and serialize, right? Same old story. And so you're typically going to want to, if you truly have very distinct avatars, like something for men and something for women, like maybe you're running a dating site and you market the both. Okay, maybe, right? Then, yeah, you probably actually have 2 content streams too, by the way, all right?
And potentially 2 Facebook pages, and potentially lots of different things, different website sections that represent those Facebook pages. It really does depend on what is the crossover. I mean, so we sort of have 2 avatars, right? We have a business owner who's in that kind of trying to get from $1 million to 10 million range, and then we've got consultants who they're largely interested in the same material. It's just that the consultant at some point is going to want more, is going to go deeper in one direction, and the business owner is more likely to go in the other direction of finding somebody else to do it for them. But in the middle, right, they meet, and everybody wants to understand how this stuff works and what they should be doing. So for us, it's really a matter of some of our content appeals more to the consultant side, and some of it appeals more to business owners. But it doesn't really change the core topics. But not everybody's got kind of 2 avatars that are kind of that closely aligned where you can find common ground.
Yeah, and we have some real estate clients, and one in particular that comes to mind. It's the same sort of avatar, but in just 2 different geographic locations. And so there, the way we talk to that avatar, the content we produce for that avatar is based upon the same psychographics and demographics. It's just targeted different geographically. So in the 2 different states that they serve, they're still, it's the brand of the company targets a particular kind of consumer. And so that's a case where, kind of half overlaps in a sense, right? We have to use somewhat different sources of content because it's community focused. It's focused on their geography. However, within that geographic range, the kind of content that we're interested in and how we write about it and who we target in the social channels is almost identical. And you could find that as well. I mean, if you may find if you're doing a large, let's say that your business is split evenly between the U.S. and the rest of the world. Okay, you probably have some differences there in the kind of content sources you'll use. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Take over for a second, Dan. Corey is actually calling me.
So I got to get unmuted here. So Corey's calling Leslie on the telephone. That sounds like fantastic news regarding the fate of Corey's presentation today. Wait, Corey just showed up on the video call. So wait, there might be some Corey here. And Terry's noting that Alexa does not provide much data for sites below 100,000 in ranking. And yes, that's true. The less traffic you get, the less data there is. Nope, we don't have Corey. Okay, so. There's Corey on the video call again.
Where did we drop off?
Well, you were just fixing to switch over to the next slide.
Yeah, I can't remember where he dropped off.
You had just switched over from I think you were on the homeownership slide on Facebook. So.
Oh, okay.
So just roll back about 20 minutes and you'll be good.
Did you not notice that you were offline?
No, it doesn't. I can't see my dashboard where it shows that my web Time Warner dropped.
Oh, nice, awesome! You were transmitting into a
black hole.
Yeah, right. All those bits. The problem is those bits are gone forever.
They are.
You really need to be more careful of that. I mean,
I think what happened is that they became waves instead of particles, and so check on your cat, Corey.
Yeah. Okay.
She's in a box right now. I'm not sure I want to open it.
No, you could get hurt doing that.
Okay, enough of the physics references.
All right.
Okay. Let's see.
So, let's try this again.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna make you the presenter again because that worked out so well the last time.
Hey, that part worked fine. It was just that my internet dropped. Okay, screen share. Screen 2.
Yeah.
Share. Play.
All of mirrors.
Bam.
And there we are. That's it. That
How's
was
this
the
look?
last slide we saw. Yeah, last slide was
Okay.
household size. Thanks, Jan. Thanks, Jan.
Nice. So, and did we go over home ownership okay?
Yeah. About targeting, particularly
Yeah,
the
you just
overlap.
went and said don't waste money advertising to renters, and I was about to point out that everything that we're talking about here is it's not about wasting money. It's that you can't advertise to everybody, so you want to increase the odds that you're actually going to get people that are interested and engaged. And so clearly, in this case, a homeowner is going to be more likely to be interested and engaged than somebody who isn't. And then you were going to go to the next slide.
Oh, so now I understand what happened. Okay, so Dan's profound thoughts caused...
I break the internet all the time.
Caused breakage in the internet. Okay, all right, so since you've already practiced this portion, Corey, then it should be no problem to rip through it. So, go.
Sounds good. All right, nice. Let's see here. So the next one, jumping in, is going to be household size. And I really dove into this really quite nicely, which you guys missed out on. But you can see here that contrary to what most people tell me when I do the avatar process with them, which is, oh, my avatar is they're married and they have 2 kids. Here we see a vast majority of a potential avatar for this ideal, for this customer, for this website would be somebody with 1, 2, or maybe they have a kid living at home, 3 people in the household. So it's either a single person or they're married, or potentially they have a kid. But doing the standard, married with 2 kids or 3 kids is less likely to be highly engaged and highly targeted. So just something to take into consideration in that regard. That it's probably a married couple, or maybe they have a kid, or their kid moved back in for college while they were in college or after college, or in the today's time of the millennials. Now the kids are just straight up moving in until they're 40, I think. But by God, they're taking some amazing vacations. So I didn't lose you guys again, did I? Still good?
No, I was just I was just thinking to myself whether or not you spoke from personal experience for that. But anyway, moving on.
Home market value is another layer that you can put on your Facebook ads, and I think this is really interesting that the 100,000 to 500,000 range is such a high range. It makes sense because people that want nice cooking equipment are going to have probably a nicer house, are going to entertain a little bit more. They also potentially might live in just a more expensive area if we were to dive into their location. But a $500,000 house here in Los Angeles isn't really that as nice as a $500,000 house in Texas. But a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 home is nothing to sneeze at. So you can layer on your ads based on the value of somebody's home. And so if that makes sense for you to use, I think it can come in really handy, especially seeing that 70% plus, 71% of the people are in a home that's 100 to 500,000 range. And this is not based on people saying how much their home is worth. It's at least not on their Facebook page where they can lie about it. This is actually based on survey value. So. And publicly available data. So I think that's something to definitely take into consideration, that you've got a nice middle class family or person that you're selling to. So they're probably going to have a semi-nice car, and obviously we know that this is the 74% that wasn't renting or whatever that was. So feel free to layer that on as necessary. Next is going to be household spending, and on the far left, you're going to see that they have any card, which a lot of people buy with plastic today, whether it's a debit card or a bank card or a credit card. They're buying with a card versus cash, and especially if you have an online business, they're going to be using some form of card, if not, I guess maybe PayPal or Bitcoin. Just kidding. What I've circled or squared off in red, though, are upscale department store cards and premium credit cards. And I thought it was interesting that almost half have some sort of upscale department store card. So that's going to be like a Nordstrom card or a Neiman Marcus or a Barney's card, something like that, where they shop there enough to actually get a credit card for that place. Now, most of the time, they offer you some sort of discount to buy it, but you also got to figure the store that they're shopping at, the goods are more expensive, the clothing's expensive, the purses are expensive, the shoes are expensive. So they're spending more money, and they have their own card for this place. So I think that is interesting to look at. Also, the premium credit card layering is incredibly valuable. That's people that have either a gold card or a platinum card or higher. Almost a third of these people have some sort of premium credit card, which means they have a higher spending limit. So they could buy the Cuisinart food processor with all the gadgets. You know, you could make bundles that bump your average sale order up. You don't just have to sell them silicone pot holders. You know, you could sell them the high-end goods and pair it with maybe a new set of dishes or something like that.
Hey, Corey, Carl asked a question which is really good to answer here while you're on the slide. Is the percent of audience matched along the bottom there? Why don't you tell everybody what that is?
Oh man, I must have cut off when I covered that already. Yeah, it's just going to be general Facebook traffic versus people that actually like this page that have this. So of all the Facebook traffic, that's kind of that light gray box. And then the dark blue box are the people that actually like this specific interest, which in this case is cooking.com.
No. It's the one below at the very bottom. It says, like in this particular one, there's two of them. It says 75% of audience matched for the left portion of this graph, and it says 39% of audience matched over on the right.
Oh, I don't dig into that, but he's more than welcome to dig into it if he wants. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that's the audience. You see, I think it's about this. I think it's reliability of the sample, if I'm understanding what they're doing there. But you're right; we'd have to dig into it. But I'm pretty sure that's the amount. So if you look at the total audience as defined in this graph, then how many, what portion of that audience do we actually have this data for? Because we don't have this data for everybody. So I think that's what's going on here. It's like in the left-hand portion here. 75% of the people who are in this audience, they actually have that data for. But anyway, sorry, moving on.
Yeah, it could be. I have not dug into what that means, so you're probably right. It would make sense that they clarify that.
The other one that Steve just asked what the plus and minus numbers mean. So this is
all these partner categories that they pull this data from. They have varying amounts of data that's going to match their database. I mean, the matching is based on email hashes. So they send, they swap email hashes, and does the email address that's in your database match this record that I have? If it does, then you can tell me which bucket they fall into. So. They're going to have more or less just because, for one, these are coming from different data sources that collect different amounts of data from different groups of people.
The other question kind of related to this that Steve just asked was what are the plus and minus in the green and red numbers are. So that's about how far above or below the average audience, and that is something that Corey did explain. But like in this. Like the second
the difference
one.
Between the dark blue and the gray box.
Exactly. So so just so everybody understands, so it is an over or under relative to the average for Facebook. Okay, I think we've dribbled over the numbers there.
Wonderful question, or questions, I should say. One thing to point out for some of our clients that sell more high-end goods. I will actually layer in the premium credit card ownership, and those people still interact with content really well. The nice thing about that is that once, if it's a blog post driving them back to, if I promoted a commentary and it drives them back to the source, the client's blog, that we're now potentially building a remarketing audience of people that have premium credit cards that have shown interest in this style of content. So we know that they have a much higher spending limit than somebody with just an ordinary bank card, unless of course their bank account has a ton of cash in it. So that can be something that's a really nice layer to put on some of your ads, because it could mean that you're driving people that have potentially more money to spend, provided their credit cards aren't maxed out. So that's kind of we're kind of done with diving into the demographic and psychographic stuff. Now we're going to switch gears back into using audience insights to find more content sources. And so inside audience insights, to the right of the demographic link is a page likes link. And when you click on that, there are two sections, and I'm showing you now the section that's usually below the fold on your computer, and it's literally page likes. And pardon me, here at the top we see cooking.com, so obviously people that are interested in cooking.com like that fan page. We would expect that to be the case. But down below here, we've got myrecipes.com, recipe.com, Epicurious, La Crusette, etc. These are all pages that you can go to their fan page. You can actually tab these open in a new tab right from Audience Insights, like their page, run the whole process from Quantcast to Alexa to Facebook for all of these, and get a ton of information about their fans, their user base, see what kind of content they're putting out. It shows audience size and affinity, and so the affinity numbers are going to be, according to Facebook's algorithm, if people like whatever your interest is, the higher the affinity, the more likely they are to also like this page on the left-hand side. In terms of the audience numbers versus that Facebook number, no idea why those are different. Man, I looked at it once and I just can't remember. But if you click the See More button below, it'll open up like 10 more sites. So you've got a ton of information at your fingertips here and access to all of these fan pages. And you definitely want to make sure you go after the ones that have a real high affinity, aside from cooking.com, which is basically an affinity unto itself. Right above this section on this same tab is top categories, and I think this section is really valuable. You don't see it as much here with cooking.com as the interest, because everything they're showing here is actually cooking related. And so if you were to put in yoga as the interest, what ends up happening is the public figure is like Brendan Burchard actually shows up as one of the public figures. I think one time I did that search and Deepak Chopra showed up. In terms of home and garden or kitchen and cooking, Mrs. Meyer's soap showed up. So doing this for different interests, you'll be able to find interests outside of maybe their very specific cooking interest. If they're into hiking or specific products like specific stores like Target or something like that. In this case, what we're looking at is everything's all cooking related, and that's beneficial. But they show you also what category that fan page is listed under, so that can give you some idea if you want to try to organize your sites based on that. But the stuff that I've highlighted I thought was really interesting. In section 4 under kitchen and cooking, La Crusette and Willems Sonoma are both brands, and so those might be products that you want to try to, well, at least with La Crusette, you may want to try to carry that product or find some sort of special offer or sign up to their list. And even if you're not an affiliate, if they have some sort of special sale on and it's not in direct competition with you, you could promote that to your list, and that's going to give you credit to your followers and whoever they share it with in terms of, hey, there's a really good sale going on right now on La Crusette cookware, which is actually kind of spendy cookware. Number 7, the magazine section. These are fan pages that have categorized themselves as a magazine. So you may want to like these pages as well as maybe subscribe to their RSS feed if they have one for their blog or their website, so you can see what kind of content they're putting out. We've got myrecipes.com, Fine Cooking, and Taste of Home. Those are all going to be really, really good when it comes down to you finding sources to do abstracting and commentary on. The TV network one is interesting, obviously the cooking channel. I was shocked that Rachel Ray didn't pop up either under TV network or public figure, because she does a lot with cooking. And then obviously the public figure, Martha Stewart. So sharing information to your audience is going to be beneficial. Not only that, but boosting their content as you write abstracts and commentary to it to their own fans is going to be beneficial. And Dan talked about that 1 or 2 Hangouts ago, where you can actually kind of piggyback and hijack their content. You're sharing it on your wall, but then you're paying to boost it to their own followers, because most of these sites and most of these sites here in red, they're not paying to promote their own content. So their exposure is anywhere from 1% to maybe 6% to their own fan base, and you can pay to get in front of their fan base.
You can reach more of their fans than they do.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that's one of the things that we do as well. So all of this that we uncovered, the dozens of websites that we uncovered, the dozens of fan pages, all of the demographic information, all of that came from just one website. You can now take all of this information and run it on all of the other websites we uncovered. And as you can see, you can spend a good hour or 2 hours diving into all of this and really get a much better idea of the marketplace, whether you're entering a new market or you're trying to create an avatar for a new subset of your own market. So all of the things that we uncovered today, we uncovered what websites the avatar likes. We uncovered more websites that we can use for content, for abstracting and commentary and exposing our brand. We uncovered the age range that we can use for an avatar. We uncovered their economic status. We uncovered if they own a home. We uncovered other brands that they like. We uncovered famous people that they follow, so personalities. And we uncovered their education level and much more. And all of this will help you get a better handle on who it is you're selling to, so that your advertising dollars become much more efficient. Like Dan said, you're not necessarily quote unquote wasting money. You're just refunneling it into areas where people are more likely to be good clients and customers, as well as really interactive with your content. So we're wrapping this side up, and we'll open it up to questions. The replay of this is going to be posted to youtube.com/marketersbraintrust. Since that's usually a question, is will there be a replay? Yes, there will. Especially since this
one might need a little editing to get posted.
We'll cut a little bit out of the middle there. But we were
chop
actually
up the 20 minutes of Dan and Leslie acting confused.
Well, it was, it was a few though. But yeah, we did answer questions.
Keep that 1 minute where we did good stuff.
Yeah, we answered people's questions.
Yeah. All right.
So, and I think we actually, I'd like to do a little bit of summation here. This is the stuff that Corey was covering there was the deep tactical step-by-step stuff. But just let's just back up for just a second and back to Corey's original slide. What are we trying to accomplish here? Trying to find who is your customer. Let's start with that. That's kind of key. And then also, what kind of content are you going to use in order to build a content stream, in order to do content marketing? And that's the things that come out of this process for our clients is first. It's always, I would say always. I don't know, Corey, you tell me if it's maybe rounding up a little bit too high. There's always some aha sort of behavior in our client going, oh yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't really thought about that, or that's data that I had never seen before. I didn't recognize some of the characteristics I should have in my avatar. Because unless you've actually gone through this experience for your own website, I don't know. Are you really sure who your best avatar is? One of the things we didn't cover was how you can use your existing email list in order to build that custom audience and come up with that avatar, a real detailed version, for that really focused version, I should say. So that's one thing, obviously, is just getting your marketing message right. And the other thing is, where do you find the content that feeds the content pipeline? And that's one of the questions we get just right off whenever we start talking about content marketing is, where the hell does the content come from? That's really kind of the primary artifact that comes out of Corey's work when he's doing this, is that he comes up with those sources, and it doesn't take long to develop dozens and dozens of them. And then you go find, what's the quality of stuff, how often do they publish, does it conflict with the brand that we're promoting, etc. And so just bear in mind, that's the purpose of this highly detailed exercise, is what you come out with at the end, is who you're marketing to, and you have a proven set of content sources to use in our publishing methods. You guys have anything to add?
Yeah. I just want to. I don't do this research before I do the avatar with the client. I do the avatar process with the client and answer it's like a 32-point checklist. I just went through one this morning with one of our new clients that came on, and it is interesting. He knew his avatar really well, but I'd say 95% of the people that I jump on the phone with, they don't necessarily know it, and so I use this information on the back end to double check and justify if their avatar was accurate, as well as it just helps me get in there and understand more about how to train my writer on who they should be writing for. And somebody asked a question, this is going to depend on the sites that you visit, etc. How do you pull all those individual sites in? In this case, birds of a feather flocking together tends to hold true, especially if you start digging into websites that are being shown as related. A lot of times the audiences and everything are going to be very, very similar. If things vary drastically, it's like in statistics, you can drop stuff off the end if it's going to skew things too much. And remember, it's an ideal client, so you're really trying to reverse engineer who it is you really want to bring in your door. That's going to interact with your content. That's going to want to purchase your products. That's going to buy from you more often. That's going to refer you to their friends. That's going to talk about you nicely online. All of those things.
Yeah, and I think as you were answering part of Steve's question there, you'll get different results based on the sites and pages you analyze. And so here's the thing about this. Let's bear in mind there are two different ways to look for what related means. Okay, and so if you look at Google, where related is mathematical, that's one way you could sort of define relatedness in terms of like co-occurrence, relations, and stuff like that. That's not the way the Facebook graph is built, though. The Facebook graph is built by human behavior, and so when we say that when Facebook says that these are related, it's because of the behavior of the Facebook population shows they're related, and so to some extent it sort of defines real related. Now there's two of Corey. That's wild. You're making up for having lost one prior, or is that a backup? Yeah, backup, no. Just in case your internet goes down. That'll work. Anyway, it's like when we talk about, and I've ranted about this for a little while now about how instead of doing keyword research, why don't you just listen to the conversation? That puts you 45 days ahead of the keyword data. Because just bear in mind, where does related come from, and where does keyword data come from? It comes from human behavior. And so by watching what Facebook calls related, we know it's the human definition of related. It's not somebody's algorithm. So, just say it. Yeah.
Which is a better way to do it if only Google could somehow get a social network. Guess not.
Guess not.
Plus is not a letter in the alphabet. I'm just saying.
Yeah. F. Okay. It could be. Well,
So that's probably the graceful way. Well, we wanted to keep it, but just, we've only got A to Z here to work with, guys. So
they can use F, G, H. They could use H, but there's so many jokes that going to build around that. Google goes to H.
Can we have a copy of your 32-point checklist for avatars? That's on the internet.
We will go over that in a future hangout.
Let's do that along with the operator's manual for that checklist. Because most people look at the checklist and go, "What? You're gonna be kidding me?" It's like, what?
I don't know this.
Yeah, it's like, and who cares what car they drive? You've got to have heard that out of 50 clients at least 20 times, right?
Yeah, we should really take that question off.
No, we should not.
Process improvement, now it's only a 31-step process.
Can we just make it one question? Who is your avatar?
Yeah, that'll save us a lot of work.
Yeah, have you finished your 30-point questionnaire yet? Yeah, that's the one question.
So Terry's question is, and can I answer Terry's question?
Absolutely, do that.
I want to answer Terry's question first. So Terry says, this example with Cooking.com is for a large site. What do you do differently when dealing with a small site or a startup? Well, in this case, Cooking.com isn't necessarily our client. It's a site that's similar. They want what Cooking.com has, and so that's why we'd be looking at that. And this, we're not going to just look at one site as part of this research process. We're going to look at a bunch of them. And but what we like to be able to do, if we have the ability to build a custom audience, if you have customer data, that's kind of one kind of research that we can start with. But if we don't have that, we have to start by looking at other people's data because we don't have any.
Right, exactly, and that's a key point. We should probably point that out. Is that we don't expect that our client when they walk in the door, because full disclosure, Cooking.com is not our client.
No, they're not.
I didn't even think somebody would attribute that as if we were doing their work as they're our client. If you're a small site, you look at the bigger sites because they're obviously doing something right.
So the answer to the question of what would you do differently when you're dealing with a small site or a startup is it wouldn't be different. This is what you would do.
Yes, you wouldn't probably use Cooking if you're trying to sell furniture.
Right, Some kind of tech startup, don't go to Cooking.com and look at the demographics.
Straight, I did the process and I gave me exactly the same avatar, and I'm selling guitars. No. You'd have to actually use a big site, one that you can get actual real data. And of course, to Dan's point, is that use more than one site, for God's sake, please, right? And then what you can really notice is that there's some overlaps. You'll find that let's take something that's kind of real. Okay, well, car companies. That's an easy one for everybody to understand, right? There's going to be a larger degree of overlap in many car companies, but some of them are going to be outliers. You're going to find that there's very little overlap between Lamborghini and Volvo. Okay, just saying. Nothing wrong with either one of those cars, just not the same avatar. There's going to be a lot more overlap for people who are interested in Dodge Chargers and Chevy Corvettes. A couple of good old American muscle cars, right? So if I'm going to go into the car business, I'm going to have to figure out, well, which kind of tributary or major river am I going to be playing in the car business, and what are the existing car brands out there that I should be looking at? And so if I want to go build muscle cars, well, I better go look at Dodge and Chrysler and some Fords, right? To go down the list, figure out what those are. If I'm going to go do something exotic, then I'll go look at Lamborghinis and some Italian stuff and some other things that only, they build 100 of them by hand every year. And so you're going to have to figure out which of the brands you can get data about that are going to be most representative of the way you want to play in a particular market. And all this is possible from understanding that you're not entering a new market. Well, you're entering a new market, but the market exists. There are already people who want what you have, and they're already talking about it. All you have to do is find the conversation. So, let's see. Sean is saying, does the cost per click or reach go up or down as we increase variables in creating the custom audience with the Facebook Audience Insights tool? Well, yes, would be the answer. It's bound to be up or down.
It would, yes. So typically what you're trying to do is narrow into a smaller audience that's more refined, and trying to dial in and find where the center of the bullseye is. When we're doing this for direct response advertising, we'll try multiple different kind of targets. We'll throw some darts at them and see what happens when they hit, and so that we can find where the customers are. With this, it's really a matter of finding where do we get an engagement and a response. And so the long-term trend should be for your cost per click to go down and your reach to go up. That is to say, you're going to see more people are going to see it. You're going to get more organic amplification, and the cost per interaction is going to go down because we see this because we don't change the budget. We adjust how we're using it, how we target it, how we focus the content. And that's something that happens over time, also based on what kind of content we're using, because we can tell what people responded to before, and we can give them more of that.
Yeah, and I think that Sean may be asking that, I'm not sure which of a couple different questions here. So bear in mind, I mean, if you're using the Audience Insight tool just to target, straight paid advertising, right? That's one question. The other one, and that's what Dan was really alluding to, is how you use your targeting over time when you're doing so-called native advertising or content marketing. Because there, as you develop an audience that's engaged, now you take those highly engaged people, you build a custom audience from that, you treat them very differently than you do, the larger audiences that surround it, right? So you've got maybe your customers, and you've got the people who clicked your website, and you've got the people in a particular custom audience, and you've got the entire internet, right? Those are very different targets. You're going to respond differently, and they're going to have a different, ultimately, a cost per action.
Yeah, and some things that you do are going to just directly increase the cost. So if you say, I only want to show my ads to millionaires, well, guess what? There's a lot of people that say that. And a lot of them probably are trying to sell something more expensive than you are, and a lot of them are willing to pay a lot to get in front of that audience. So there are certain things, that particularly when you're playing with the partner categories, where you can increase your overall your cost, but the point is to get more response corresponding to that, right? So that it's worth doing. Otherwise, it's not worth doing, and you want to go in another direction instead.
Indeed.
It's all about increasing the odds and increasing the efficiency. That's the only way to look at advertising, period.
Corey, you got anything to add to that? Or it looks like we confetti as a target. Selling confetti or aiming at confetti? I don't know, Jerry. So it's really hard to.
Let's go ahead and knock out a good hour doing an avatar exercise and some audience recon for Terry. So
confetti. I don't know. Who are the users of confetti? So, any last thoughts from the panel here? We've been at for hour 20. Well, really only an hour when you count the 20 out. So, I guess I should have texted you. I sent you a message on the internet.
Hey, man, Corey had to go out to lunch. It's just how it is.
That's right.
You guys can take my presentation from here. Right?
You heard the song, and the ice cream truck was coming. That's right. I want one of those drumsticks. What do I do? I'll yank the cord out.
Yep. Okay. So, let's see. Do we know what we're doing next? Or do we know what we're doing next week? Like any portion of it, actually? So
let's make Corey do the avatar thing.
Not next week. I don't have enough time this week to get it all together.
All right. Hey, I have something that I'd like to talk about, which is it's a little bit strategic, but it's about we kind of use AdWords as an example, but it also applies to Facebook or any other channel, which is to look at kind of the risk-reward spectrum. So the concept of I throw lots of money into lots of keywords. I'm buying lots of data, but I'm going to bleed money. That'll get me to profitability possibly sooner if I have a target to hit. But on the other hand, I can be super conservative, and it might take me 9 months to figure out whether one keyword works because I'm only willing to buy traffic on the bottom of the page. And there's actually math that you can do that helps you figure out where in that you should be playing and how aggressive you should be. And Leslie, I know you know from your experience that a lot of people do that math wrong and end up being way too conservative, which, getting to where you want to go in your business is largely about lasting the distance. And one of the worst ways to try and last the distance is by not using any fuel at all.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, you could park the car and get out and walk, but it's a long walk.
Yes, I can last at this rate for years. My burn rate is 0.
Yeah.
Not
well, that sounds like
plan.
that sounds like a really good discussion.
But let's. I don't want to just do something that's pure strategic. Let's apply it to something. And in this case, I've already got something I've been working on to apply it to AdWords, so that we can make that part of our kind of initial conversations with people before we decide that they're going to be a client. They decide that we're going to be their agency.
Got it. That's fantastic. Let's plan on that then. So Dan is going to do a strategic math-based AdWords presentation. There we go. Have to figure out what the title for that is. That has all the keywords
strategic math-based AdWords thing.
It's keyword laden. That's what we do here at the SEO Brain Trust. So let's see.
You should definitely do some latent semantic indexing with that.
We should do that. we could do that. Let's see. Steve said, did I hear you correctly that you can promote someone else's post, and actually do, by the way, and that's actually explained in what if you dial back several of our Hangouts, you'll find us talk about the organic profit engine. You
can promote their post. You can also promote. So you can promote like their Facebook page post that you can share, and you can boost that share. So you have to write some words, and that makes it your own post that just has theirs wrapped in it. Or if there's a blog post, for example, like if we wanted to, send people to Moz's Whiteboard Friday every Friday because they don't feel like paying to do that, we could just link directly to it, and then it's completely got our wrapper on it, and it's got their video embedded and all that stuff. And saying something we could do. Not
we could do that.
If we would confirm or deny whether we actually do that, because
we don't want to give Moz any ideas. I mean, any other people.
We've tried to give them that idea. They just don't like the idea of spending money to reach their audience. They love their audience like we do.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing about that becomes an issue, which is 20% text rule. So when designing your own images, you may want to think about that. Not many people are going to be trying to boost a post that they shared that was your post originally, but they're missing out. So if you share something and it's got 20% or more text in the image or in the thumbnail of the video, your host, you can't boost that. You may be able to slide under the wire, but I doubt it. You'll probably get slapped. So if it gets rejected, that's usually why.
Yeah.
Whereas an organic post that they can share.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's kind of weird as soon as you pay money.
You can make a link post, and whatever the heck gets pulled in from that page, that blog or whatever, no problem. Boost away. But if you're sharing someone else's post and they treat the images in that post like it's your ad, so 20% text.
Before we go, I mean, we at least thought of this is an aside, a sidebar, a little bit off topic. Terry was apparently not exactly joking about selling confetti. He said it's a $50 million business. Well, actually, if you want to just look at business sides, the largest businesses on the planet sell consumables. And so we're talking diapers, napkins, plastic silverware, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I go through like 4 bags of confetti a week.
Absolutely. Now, the challenge is where those particular kinds of businesses have very fixed economies of scale, and they have very large entrenched participants. And so don't look at just a market size. You have to look deeper in that to determine whether or not there's actually an opportunity, particularly when you're starting out. So that's just saying.
To whom can I make my offer better than the alternatives? And if the answer to that is no one, then it doesn't matter if it's a $3 trillion business. You're at best a Me Too, and at worst worse, which being worse makes it worse.
Yeah. Worse than worse.
Muting myself now. I'm going to hang up and listen.
Yeah, you could go with Michelle and Kibitz from the sidelines, whether it's LSI or LSD. Okay, so I think we're done for today, and Dan's going to be back next week with a presentation. on the Dan's special AdWords math method. MAD method for AdWords math. AdWords,
Dan's
something like.
AdWords money thing.
Okay, and hopefully he'll have his background focused by then too. So thanks everybody for showing up and playing along with the circus today. And the replay will be up in the next day or so. Actually, usually about 24 hours. Although this one we may have to chop a little bit of the.
Let's give this one an extra day before.
Yeah, give it an extra day.
Promises.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have a kind of a post process that we run on these. They don't go automatically up to our YouTube channel. So we are. You'll see the replay in a couple of days on this one, and then obviously if you'd like to learn more about working with us, it's easy to get a hold of us. It's first name at Marcus Brain Trust. No, that's not first name. That's one of our first names.
Actually, I bet first name at Marketers Brain Trust goes somewhere.
It goes to support because it's a catch-all. Thanks.
And Stephanie would forward and say, "Hey, here's the dumb one that couldn't figure out what Leslie said. Do you want them as a client?"
Yeah. Do we have anybody
We'll
here
say
named
no,
Mr. First Name? So thanks everybody, and we will see you next week. That's all for now. Bye-bye.